Hey guys, it's Angelo, and with the release of Antorus, the Burning Throne, we're having a revisited look at the Shadow Priest legendary rankings. There has been a slight dynamical shift in our legendaries and their usage, and where some legendaries lost part of their value due to various different reasons, others have gained significant potential. As in my previous legendary review, we're going to split the legendaries into 3 different tiers, going in order of lowest in value, which are all legendaries that aren't that strong for us, to highest in value, which are our top tier legendaries. Similar to last patch, we have 2 new legendaries to look at again, and we'll discuss how they work and why they are so strong. Now, with that being said, let's go right ahead and have a look. Compared to previous legendary changes in patch 7.2.5, there haven't been a lot of changes to our legendaries in form of buffs or nerfs this patch. All legendaries can be upgraded to item level 1000 now, and any legendary that now drops for you will automatically be at this item level as well, so item level 1000. So any legendary that you don't have yet, you will certainly want to try and farm now. Apart from that, there have been changes to our legendary chest, the Heart of the Void, which correspond to the recent spell changes to Void Eruption, Shadow Word Pain, and of course Vampiric Touch. I covered those in my most recent Shadow Priest guide, so if you want to learn more about those, be sure to check that out. What needs to be mentioned is that there are a few legendaries which are actually in Tier 1, yet I listed them twice in both Tier 1 and, for example, Tier 3, or maybe even Tier 2, depending on the legendary. This is because certain legendaries gain increasing value depending on your stat levels. So, for example, when you start off in Antorus, you are still at low haste or low critical strike or whatever, and you may want to use different legendaries than when you are at almost full gear of Tier 21 with a lot more stats. Good. Now, the Heart of the Void has had its damage increased to Void Eruption reduced to 75% and its healing reduced to 25%. On top of this, we get 2 new legendaries, the Insignia of the Grand Army and Aman'Thul's Vision. Unlike all other legendaries, these 2 drop very specifically. The Insignia of the Grand Army is rewarded as a quest reward after completion of the quest The Death of a Titan, which requires you to kill Argus the Unmaker in the Burning Throne. Aman'Thul's Vision has a regular legendary drop chance from Argus the Unmaker, and here comes the interesting twist. It does not apply to your 2 legendaries equipped limit. This means that you can use 2 legendaries and Aman'Thul's Vision at all times. Why this is the case and how this is incredibly beneficial we'll discuss once we get to the legendary, but for now let's have a detailed look at the list. Starting us off in the lower ranks of the legendaries is Tier 3, which is our lowest rank. In it, we have Kil'jaeden's Burning Wish, a legendary trinket, the Crafted Shoulders, Salumbra, the Knight's Dichotomy, the Insignia of the Grand Army, but only if your stats are still low, Pridus, Xavaric's Magnum Opus, your neck, Anan's Seared Shackles, your wrists, the Twins' Painful Touch, one of your rings, and your cloak, Zex Exterminatus. Anan's Seared Shackles saw a huge drop in relevance due to Mastery losing in importance, as well as the way our playstyle effectively plays itself out now. Pridus is still a strong legendary during progression, but similar to the Insignia of the Grand Army, ironically gets stronger with more haste, which is most likely when your progression is already reaching its end. Zex Exterminatus isn't necessarily a bad legendary, but for the fight lengths and the overall fight dynamics of Antorus, they honestly don't make it overly effective, so compared to other options, it honestly struggles. The Twins' Painful Touch loses out unfortunately because of the Void Eruption changes, and because it's really only effective somewhat on Portal Keeper Hazabel in Antorus, and essentially not all in Mythic Plus really, or rather not at all in Mythic Plus, because there are simply better options, and again because the way Void Eruption works now. Also in Tier 3 is Norgannon's Foresight, which are your feet, and due to its stats and its honestly not overly amazing effect, or rather not overly useful effect in most situations, this legendary is also underperforming currently. In our mid-tier, Tier 2, we have our helmet, our chest, the Heart of the Void, the Soul of the High Priest, which is one of our rings, but only with low haste amounts, the shoulders, Mother Shara Seduction, and, again, only with more haste, Anan's Seared Shackles. All of the legendaries in this tier are perfectly fine, with the exceptions of the wrists, which I honestly only took into consideration again for this tier because of how high it simulates in damage once we actually have a lot of haste in comparison with when we don't. Both our helmet and our shoulders are perfectly fine to use, but it should only serve as placeholder until you have a better legendary. The Heart of the Void is actually really strong, and on top of its legendary ability, actually gives us a brilliant combination of haste and critical strike as stats. In our God tier, which include the best of our best legendaries, we find our belt, Mangaza's Madness, the insignia of the Grand Army with a higher haste value, the soul of the High Priest, which is one of our other rings, also with greater haste and general stat values, Amanthul's Vision, which is the new trinket, and of course Cephas' Secret. Straight off, I have to tell you that Cephas' Secret is by far your best legendary. Mangaza's Madness is almost as good, but Cephas pulls far ahead when taking the proc into consideration, but even without its proc, it is still pretty much tied with the belt, pulling slightly ahead to rank 1. The insignia of the Grand Army, which is one of your rings, becomes an insane stat stick with high amounts of haste and a lot of traits in your Netherlight Crucible, and Amanthul's Vision is already super strong as it is baseline, and will only become stronger the more people in your raid have it. The more often you can proc the trinket, the higher its value becomes, and due to the fact that you can equip it as a third legendary, it essentially gains more value because you're not sacrificing another legendary for it. The soul of the High Priest is almost on par with Cephas' Secret, but only if you have high haste values and only if you use it with Fortress of the Mind. Once Cephas can be procced, however, it does pull ahead again by a considerable amount. Having any of these 5 legendaries will be ideal, and having all 5 of them would be the perfect scenario. And this concludes my legendary review for Antorus the Burning Throne in patch 7.3.2 and most likely spanning all the way over to patch 7.3.5, or expanding rather. Overall, Cephas and the Belt are still the most dominant legendaries of the bunch, with the soul of the High Priest seeing a formidable solid increase in DPS gain when used with high haste and general high stats. The Heart of the Void is also a pretty favorable legendary, and so are the shoulders, and the insignia of the Grand Army should also be taken into consideration once further into Antorus. Amanthul's Vision should certainly be equipped once you have it, as it is super strong, and keep in mind that it does not take up another legendary slot, so you can equip it along with 2 other legendaries. Now, as always, thank you for watching, and if this video helped you to decide which legendary to use, feel free to give this video a like, and if you'd like to see more of my content in the future and haven't subscribed yet, feel free to subscribe. Now, as always, have a good one my friends, and I will see you all in the next one.
Lifetime in repeat.